Hello and welcome to How to Get a Gun in Canada the Legal Way. My name is Xander. If you're a new viewer here, thanks for viewing. Make sure you give us a subscribe, and if you're returning, nice to see you again. Today we're going to go over how to get a firearm license in Canada. For that we're going to have to go over a few major talking points. This will likely be a 2 or 3 part series. And I will leave time codes to all of the different topics in the comment section or the description, so you guys can just skip to whatever part you want to hear about. So to start with, disclaimer, before you're thinking getting a firearms license and all of that kind of stuff, you should start to read up on the Firearms Act. This is a huge part for anyone who owns a firearm license in Canada. It's something you're going to have to get well acquainted with, and in all honesty, it's probably one of the lesser boring piece of government, legislations. A little bit about the history and the usage, just to give everyone like a good starting point. This video is mostly aimed at people potentially going to get a firearms license, whether they be a person younger than myself, older than myself, it really doesn't matter. So the earliest history of having a firearm in Canada that I can find goes back to the early 1600s. I think it was 1608, somewhere in Quebec. They started really perfecting flintlocks, pistols and rifles. Even back then, people would have used firearms for the exact same reason that we use them now, which is primarily sport shooting, hunting, and where your jurisdictions permit it, self-defense. But ever since the 1600s, Canadians have been using firearms in increasing numbers every year. There's 2.2 million plus firearms owners in Canada, and each year they fire billions of rounds at shooting ranges with next to no accidents ever happening. I do have one disclaimer about using firearms for self-defense. For anyone thinking of getting a firearms license for that reason, I would strongly discourage that, as there is pretty much no legislature in Canada that will cover a citizen when they use a firearm for self-defense. This does happen, it has happened, and it continues to happen, and people go through the court process for it all the time, but not something you want to get into. And quite honestly, in the firearms community, especially when you're learning all of this stuff, talking about self-defense even in the course is a very, very taboo thing. So that's why we'll make a video on it in the future. So there's 2.2 plus million licensed firearm owners in Canada, about 1.3 million hunters. Given the numbers, I think Canada has a population of 37 million. So if you do the numbers for that, that would make that about 5% of the population are hunters, which is a fairly big number. Lots of people hunt with firearms, lots of people hunt with crossbows, longbows, and other methods like that. But hunting in Canada is covered under licensing, lots of regulations, species tags, bag limits, and there's a lot of conservation effort that goes into it from hunters. It's also worth noting that hunters and the licensing, and in some places the hunting products that you buy, go directly into covering conservation funds in Canada, and it's well known without hunters that we would not have such an amazing ecosystem and diverse animal populations, because there would be no one interested in paying for them. The next topic will be who is not eligible to get a firearms license in Canada. There will be a lot of exceptions to this, so if you're watching this and you fall under a category that I list, it would be worth calling the Chief Firearms Officer up and having a talk to them about it before you go through the licensing process, just to not waste your time or money. But like I said, there are always exceptions, and they're reasonable people, so be honest. So who's not eligible? Anyone with a weapons ban is not eligible. If you've ever received a weapons ban from a police in your area or another area, you won't be eligible, with exceptions. Criminal record is a huge part of that. If you have a history of violent offences, drug offences, anything that's kind of in that violent category, you'd likely be denied. Some of the things that aren't so much of an issue is things like speeding tickets, misdemeanors and stuff. They will do an extensive look into your past, and anything that pops up of interest, you can imagine they will want to talk to you about. So that is why it's important to be honest, because they're going to look into your background no matter what. And if they see something not right, that's where you're going to get into a lot of trouble. Mental illness history, one of the more touchy subjects, but something we definitely need to address. Mental illness is a big problem for a lot of people, and if you're applying for a firearms license, in the process you will be asked about your mental health history. Once again, this is something they will look into anyway. Does it mean if you had like a period of depression or anxiety or something going on in your past or even right now, does that mean you'll be denied? Maybe, maybe not. That's definitely up to the CFO to decide on. If that is something that you do have to tick off on, it would be worth definitely doing a lot of expansion on that and letting them know everything so they can hasty the process. Violent behaviour in the past, or if there is reports made that you threatened people, or anything like that, anything violent in your past that the police can dig up will definitely go against you for getting a firearms license. But like I said, there are many exceptions to all of this, and they are reasonable people, so just a heads up. The next section we're going to go over is how to actually find a course. So you've made the decision you want to get your firearms license, you've learned a little bit about the process because you've watched videos like this and other ones on YouTube, you've looked it up online, you may have even already looked at the actual course online, the Canadian Firearms Safety course, because it's available as a free PDF on the internet. But some of the ways to find a course, the first one, I would give you an option which actually call the CFO, and the number for the CFO is 1-800-731-4000. Another option is to call your local gun store. Just give them a call up, let them know that you're interested in getting your firearms license, and if they can point you in the right direction for someone locally that does it for you. You can always ask a friend who has a license, because likely they will send you to the person that tested them to get their own license. Hopefully that would also be local to you. Another option is to join some Facebook groups like the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights or Canadian Gun Owners, Firearm Owners of Canada. There's a few of them you can join. Just join up, put up a post up there and ask people, I live in, for example, Calgary, and I want to get my firearms license, who can test me in this area? And people will point you in the right direction. And failing all that, you could just call up your local range or your closest range, or ideally even anywhere in your region. They should be able to point you in the right direction. So in the next video, we're going to go over what you should do before the course and actually on the day of the course, how to mail out your application, and the process and the final part of the process of getting your firearms license. Thank you again for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. Please give us a wee subscribe and a like too. We always appreciate it. And if you have any criticism, let us know.